June board meeting. We'll go ahead and get things going. I'll get Mr. Jones to say the Pledge of Allegiance, if he will, please.
Everybody stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Mr. Caldwell, if you would read the mission statement for Clay County Schools, please.
The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environments that ensure all students learn at high levels.
Thank you. The only announcement we have is our next regular scheduled meeting will be July the 28th here in the boardroom at 6 o'clock. And you have the agenda there in front of you, and it's been emailed as well, so I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as it's presented.
Make a motion, we'll approve the agenda.
Mr. Jones has a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Caldwell, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment, Shelley? Is there anybody set up for public comment? Okay. So we'll move on to our recognitions portion, and we'll start with Mr. Overland and summer graduate.
Ask Mrs. White and Olivia to join me up here, please. And Dr. Shook also, we're going to need you. You have an important part of this. Olivia, come over between us, if you would. So we're here tonight to celebrate and honor the graduation of Miss Olivia May Ware. We're very proud of her. What we talk about a lot in the high school is three things: show up, work hard, and be nice. And Olivia exemplifies all three of those. And a fourth one I'm going to add to it: never give up. Olivia never gives up, and that's why she's here tonight. And we're just proud as we can be of you. And Olivia, I'm going to go ahead and give you this diploma. And then we got to say a few things, and then it'll be official, and then you can move your tassel. All right? Dr. Shook, I now certify that Olivia May Ware from Hayesville High School's class of 2025 has met the graduation requirements of the state of North Carolina, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, and the Clay County Board of Education, and she is entitled to the diploma that I just handed her.
Olivia, by the power vested in me by the state of North Carolina and the Board of Education of Clay County, I confer this diploma and declare Olivia Ware to be a graduate of Hayesville High School.
Picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balance everything out.
All right, and now cake. Good job, kiddo.
That's the best way. Just
And next we have spring sports recognition. We'll start with Mr. Overland. You ready? Yep.
Yes, Coach White from women's soccer is here with us tonight. Give you the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the board, I'm Coach White. I coach the ladies soccer, high school ladies soccer team, and we had two players who were recognized this season. One of them couldn't be here tonight. I'm sorry about that, but one could. Miss Reese Seegers, she is our all-conference player for the year. She was honorable mention last year, actually. And what's really impressive about the two ladies who got elected and nominated for this award, they're both sophomores. Okay, the ladies soccer team is like 41% freshmen, 41% sophomores, 9% juniors, and 9% seniors. So it's a very young team. But with the quality of the young players that are coming up, you know, we look to hope that they have the team. Ladies soccer has a good future here in Hayesville. So Reese was one of the team captains. She scored half of the team's goals this year and probably had half of the assists on the team for other teammates to score. She's a real player. She plays center midfield, which means she's kind of like the quarterback. She is the bridge between attacking and defense and helps transition. And as a captain, she's always pushing her teammates to do the right thing. You know, she's very skilled, has great vision for a soccer player. Vision is one of those things that you can't teach. They just have it or they don't. And she has great vision on the field, on how to distribute the ball, where to place herself, and a true leader of the team. So I think it's great that she was selected as all-conference player for the Aysville ladies soccer team. So,
That's something you won't see out of our very much.
Michael, you want to come on up? All right, so I'm going to step in for Coach Marissa Peck tonight and introduce you to our softball all-conference player, Miss Michaelyn McClure. Michaelyn is a freshman, so that is really impressive to be all-conference, first team all-conference in the 9th grade. Michaelyn's a multi-sport athlete. She's very gifted, but she works extremely hard too, and that's one thing I've learned about Michaelyn. She doesn't take these God-given gifts for granted. She works extremely hard. She's always at practice. She's always training, trying to get better, and top-notch in the classroom too. And we're excited about having you at Hayesville High School and big things. So Michaelyn McClure is all conference in softball for 2025. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Will and Grace.
You got to get in the picture. The whole world is watching us right now. Come on, Will, come on over here. Wave to the world. There you go, perfect. All right, so the reason these three young people are here with us tonight is every year, every junior in the state of North Carolina takes the ACT exam. This year it was in early March. It's sometimes late February, early March. But we got the scores back, and some numbers just kind of leaped off the page at us. These three and a fourth one, who is not here with us tonight, Lily Anderson, scored 30 or higher on their composite score for the ACT, which is just incredible. So to kind of put that in perspective, that's like in the 93rd percentile of all test takers in the nation. Now, what does that mean more practically? It means they're probably going to get into any college they apply to. They're probably going to get big merit scholarships once they're accepted into these universities. And we're just really, really proud of them. One thing I'll also add is that all three of them were involved in some student-led prep sessions. This wasn't my idea. One of them came up to me, two of them came up to me and said, hey, could we use a little bit of win time to get together with our peers who are serious about the ACT and just do some prep? I said, oh yeah, absolutely. That's what win time is all about. So they worked on that hard for a few weeks, and I think it really paid off. And really proud of them. I want to recognize Ann Gibson. Congratulations, Ann. Grace Gibson. Congratulations. And Will Jennings. Well done. Congratulations. Good job.
Congratulations.
Oh, have to go.
Will, you get on symmetry. Will, you and, symmetry, sorry. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations. Next, we have our report section, and we'll start with Miss Heather Clemens in the primary school.
Good evening. As I've gone over with you before, we use two pieces of measurement data at HPS. We have iReady, which we have K-8, and then we also have M-Class, which is a K-3 assessment. M-Class is that one-on-one, and that's really what we live and die by as far as what students need for interventions and so forth. We also use iReady as another measure. We have that for reading and math, and that is a technology piece-based assessment where they do on an iPad one-on-one. So it's also important to remember, I think Ms. Godfrey mentioned it at mid-year, that the students don't have a pathway on iReady anymore. It was a funding thing. So the only time they see that assessment is when they sit down for those 3 times a year diagnostics. But looking at our data, I think we've got some things to be proud of. That's the end of it, Adrian. He's ready. He told me I only had a few minutes. So. Any questions? So yeah, you go. There you go. So this is a comparison. The small image is last year's end of year, and then we have this year comparison of beginning of year to end of year. And the one thing that I'm the most proud of here is that there's no red at the top. That means we didn't have students showing significantly below at the end of the year in reading. Our greens are comparable to last year, so we're still seeing some growth, but I'm really proud of the fact that we didn't have any reds carry over. And then we look at the next slide at math, and this is just overall K2. I can get you breakdowns for grade level if you would like that, but this is, again, it's a very similar, tremendous amount of growth from beginning of year to end of year. We did finish the year with a comparable amount of greens. Green, of course, just green means good. That's on grade level, as we did at the end of last school year. And we had 66% of our students improve their placement from beginning of year to end of year this school year. So I was pleased with that as well for math. All right, then moving on to M-Class. I will go over all of these things with you. All I can say is I'm really proud of my students and my staff for the things that we're seeing happen here. So overall, we had an increase of students from 38 to 66% from, we had 38% of our students who were at or above grade level at the beginning of the year, and we increased that to 66% overall. Our first and second grade teams both set goals for what we call PSF, or phoneme segmentation fluency, and we have continued to hit that goal for the last few years. So all grade levels had something to be proud of in those areas. So again, if you read through those, you just let me know if you have questions about that, and I'm happy to answer those for you. And then the next slide is a breakdown by grade level. And I really want to highlight my first grade and my second grade here. I'm really pleased with how they did as compared to last school year. So this is kind of like on the left-hand side. Last year, we ended with 59% of our students at or above grade level, and this year we bumped that to 68%. So I felt like that was a huge jump. And then second grade, we bumped from 55% last year to 66% at or above this year. So I'm really pleased with that as well. Here's some things that have helped make that happen. So that's on the next slide on our steps taken. We were fortunate enough to end up contracting a reading intervention teacher. Miss Pam Patterson worked with us 3 days a week with students, and I really think that helped make a big difference in the gaps closing for some of our students. We also started adopting a new phonics-based curriculum called UFLY, and that just stands for University of Florida Literacy Institute. The beauty of that is the program itself is free. You should all be like, yeah. You can be like, yeah. We've had to buy some materials to kind of go along with that or help some manipulative things, but other than that, it's been free. And so next year, we're moving into a complete adoption of that program. We have put a great deal of work on the shoulders of Miss Delaney Smith, our MTSS leader for the school, and she's done a fabulous job with that. We added a first grade instructional support assistant. So if you'll recall, when we had funds to, we had a receptionist position, and I asked if we could split that up and make it part-time that and part-time first grade. You guys said yes to that, and so we've been able to put him rotating through to provide a little extra support in first grade, and I think that's helped. I think there's no amount of programs or funds that can help replace people, so I think that's always a win when we do that. And we implemented a math intervention program called Bridges Math, and we've got more to come on that next year. So all in all, those are some of the things we've done. And then the last slide what are we looking at next? We're going to go full on UFly K2 in 25-26 for our phonics curriculum. We hope, if there's funding available, that we would be able to recontract with a part-time interventionist for the 25-26 school year. Again, I think that makes a big difference. We're going to look at our master schedule. We're always tweaking that to see how we can just add in more support, especially in first and second grade since they don't have an assistant. We have our new EL curriculum that we adopted at the beginning of last school year, so we think we're more comfortable with that, and we're just going to be able to continue to expand that with our reading curriculum. Our math team is working really hard to refine some framework pieces. Ms. Felicia Mull is taking the lead on that, so I'm excited to see what she's going to do there. And we're going to look more specifically at math intervention time. So it's a lot in a few minutes, but overall I feel like things are going really well. I'm proud of my people, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I want to mention too that one of the reasons that the primary school piloted UFly and the reason that they're going to full implementation is its alignment with science of reading. So since we did all of the science of reading training, we want to make sure now that our materials are aligned to that training. And so it's free, that's great, but beyond that too, we want to make sure it's aligned with the science of reading training that our teachers received. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you. Any questions?
Is Pam interested in coming back, if that's possible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
she don't want anything full time, but she's
Yeah,
Willing
she
to help
loved
out
the
sometime.
schedule that she had, and she's so committed and dedicated to it. So it would be great if that works out.
Good.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Ms. T next with the elementary school.
Good evening. It seems like we were just up here not too long ago, middle of year data, but we're here with end of year data. I've got some notes to follow so I don't blab on too long about some of the data. We have lots of things to celebrate and also some areas that we are already working towards improving in. So most of the data I'm going to share with you is our end of grade data. On a lot of the slides you're going to see college and career ready. That means they scored a level 4 or a level 5. And so that is just showing that they are showing abilities to be able to move on into college and career ready. So for third grade, our reading proficiency was 50.4%. This was a lower group of students who their strength is in math. But 26% of those students were college and career ready. So it's like they were either really had it or they were still struggling. And then for third grade math, we had 68.9% proficient, and almost half of them were college and career ready for math. And then on iReady, this is another data piece that we pull from. As you can see from BOY to EOY, our green, which is our tier 1, which is where you want most of your kids. The goal is to really have about 80% in the green and 20% in yellow and red. So we had a little ways to go here, but you can see the amount of growth when they came in at the beginning of the year at 39% on tier 1 and to end at 59%.
I think the slides are off.
I think they are too.
We're on 5th grade math and she's on
Yeah.
3rd grade reading.
I thought reading was next.
There we go.
There's 3rd grade reading. All right, and so same here. We had a huge jump with reading, even though our EOG scores kind of showed that was definitely a weak area for this group. They went from 44% being tier 1 all the way to 76%. So the 3rd grade teachers worked tremendously hard. We used some funds like Heather did at the primary school. We weren't able to get an interventionist, but we were able to get extra planning time for our grade levels. 4th and 5th grade actually planned together, so that allowed for them to have that collaboration time together to look at all their data to plan their interventions. The next set for 3rd grade, this is only 3rd grade. We did not have it for 4th and 5th grade this year. But again, you can see from here our blue line grew, which is always a good thing. Our red honestly stayed pretty close. We had some struggles with that, but the other areas definitely saw improvements in those. And that one we already covered. Now to 4th grade. So 4th grade had a phenomenal year. We had 72.2% proficient in 4th grade reading this year, and over half of them, 55.7%, scored a level 4 or a level 5, which is really impressive for 4th grade. 4th grade math was I think I might have messed that up. I think I messed up the 4th grade math proficiency, but about half of them were college and career ready. So 4th grade had a great year. And then we'll look at their I-Ready for 4th grade. This was overall, went from 41% that were proficient on the beginning of year test to 64% at the end of the year. All right. 4th grade math was a huge jump. We went from only having 37% of our students where they were supposed to be, and by the end of the year we had 75% of them where they were supposed to be. So they really worked hard this year to grow those students. And I think that the way that we do our intervention groups really have like targeting what they need. Even our higher learners, we're trying to figure out ways to enrich them during those intervention times, and I think that that has really pushed them to grow. So for 5th grade, from these percentages, you can tell that we definitely have some work ahead of us. Our reading proficiency came out at 57.5%, and math was a little under 50%. So in several of the cases when I looked at the I-Ready data, there were tons of our kids that grew tremendously, but it seems like when they got to this EOG test, it just wasn't there. So we've already made some changes. We're working on staffing changes. We are looking at our schedule. We tried a new model this year with 5th grade where they had 4 blocks instead of just 2 blocks. And so there were a lot of factors that went into play this year, and I think that we're going back to a 2-block model. So I'm hoping that will help improve our scores as well. 5th grade I-Ready reading data. You can see that 36% of this class showed that they were on grade level, and by the end of the year, 63%. So even though it's lower, this shows, what our 5th grade teachers were working with at the start of the year. So still lots of growth for them. And then for math, by the end of the year, we had 59% that were performing on grade level. So as we continue on with this next year, we're going to continue on figuring out how to leverage any planning time that we can give teachers. That's always a struggle. This year, we also had to cut our losses with an instructional coach and an interventionist, and so trying to figure out how to juggle all of those things while keeping everything that our previous instructional coach did has been a struggle. But we are figuring out ways to pull on teacher strengths and leadership to figure out how to keep all of that up. So I can answer any questions that you guys have.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Teague?
I just have to say from primary, of course I haven't heard from middle school and high school yet, but just how resourceful that y'all been and trying to, get teachers to take on leadership roles and trying to teach and do all this intervention stuff is to be commended for sure.
Yeah. It takes a village, and it takes everyone's hand at work because it's a lot of gaps to fill in when you have that. But we do what we can.
Thank you. Next we have the middle school.
Brought my glasses in case I couldn't see. Okay. We're ready to go on, Adrian. Thank you. All right, so this is just overall our percentages for our EOG and EOC. So I gave you a comparison on most of these slides from last year to this year. So the 23-24, you can tell where we were at overall, 54% achievement with, and I put in there the growth index and then the performance grade, which is what really gets publicized and to everyone, so you can see where we were. So this year we have brought down our not proficiency rating, and of course it increased our overall achievement to 7.7%, and that does not include, because we don't have our science scores back yet, so historically science usually is higher than all the other ones, so we're hoping that will improve their proficiency. Plus this also does not include growth in there. So those yellow parts, I hope to come back when the state board comes out and see those numbers going up from there.
That's just so you guys are aware, that's coming out the first week of school. in August. So the end of August is when our school performance grades will come out. So we'll be revisiting some of this once we have growth measures, and science scores will be back by then as well.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Good. So this is our overall reading percentages with 6th, 7th, and 8th all together. I didn't put the 23-24. I just put in green whether it went up or down. So I know it looks kind of odd for that negative to be green in that first column there, but that's because we decreased our not proficiency rate. So as you can tell, overall and then the CCR, just like Miss Teague, I was going to say Carissa, but Miss Teague was, the CCR is a college and career ready, the level 4s and 5s, and the grade level proficiency is level 3s, 4s, and 5s. So we're really proud of that overall. And I think last year, the reading proficiency scores were lower overall than the math, which is traditionally not the way it goes. And here's our math. So again, I mean, of course, there's a red spot in there. Everything is not perfect. We've got some things to go into, but there's something in these slides that I wanted to highlight and then kind of explain where that red is coming from. But overall, you can tell we increased our level 4s and 5s, 5.1, and then the grade level proficiency by 10. So we're really proud of those. Overall, the 6th and 8th, or the math and the reading overall. So right here, I really wanted to get into the 8th grade math. This is a sore spot for me, especially as a math teacher. So you can see our 23-24 scores, where you have your not proficient at 68.8. So we're extremely proud, or I'm extremely proud of our staff and students at that 31 point or percentage, however you want to talk about it, increase there. I can't say enough about not just the 8th grade math teacher, but everything overall that went into this during our win time and our interventions and all those things. But I want to explain a little bit more where this came from. Adrian, if you can go on to the next one. So our 8th grade, we have an 8th grade math and then we have a math one. So the 8th grade math is an EOG, and I put up there the proficiency percentile. So that means 91%. You have to score 91th percentile in order to be proficient according to the state, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. So you can tell there, we did decrease our not proficiency rate and increase the proficiency, not by a whole lot, but I also wanted to put up there in 23-24, we tested 66 students in 8th grade math, and this year we went to 2 Math 1 courses because we had so many students that were at a level 4 and 5 in 7th grade, and then we offered it. Traditionally, you don't offer it to those who score a level 3, but we did offer it to those this year, which kind of flip-flop those numbers. So you can see where those differences made. Now the CCR part, the 4s and 5s, I'll explain that in there. But I did want to highlight, if you look down at the bottom, like that average growth, that percentage of growth, 200%, is phenomenal. And there was 2 students I wanted to highlight on here. So the first one, according to EVOS, was projected to make a 3% on the 8th grade math test. They ended up making a 65%, but were considered not proficient. Their growth was whatever it was, 2,066% there of growth. The second student projected to make a 51%, but made an 85 percentile, but still was not considered proficient according to the state, even though they grew 67 percentile there, which to me is, anyway, I can say a whole lot of things about it, but that's crazy to me. Why would we ask students to be proficient at 91 percentile? I'll stop because I'll go on. Go on to the next one, Adrian, please. So here's our Math 1. So if you look at the proficiency percentile there, so in order to pass the Math 1 test, which is an EOC, you have to be proficient at 66%. That's a level 3. A level 4 is 85%, and a level 5 is 97%. So those 2 students that I highlighted in the last slide, one of them would have been 1 point away from being proficient. The other one would have made a level 4 on the Math 1 test. So I don't think that's fair to our students. But you can see there the level 3, where that is red. I'm not concerned about that, but if you notice in the level 4s and 5s, because what we did was we moved our level 3s to level 4s and 5s from there. So it's okay to have red in some instances. We decreased our non-proficiency rate, and then we increased the level 4s and the 5s. But you can still see the growth there was 10%. I think I've got one more slide. Yeah, so this is just the percentage, again, based on EVOS projections, what they projected every student to do. So you can notice in the math overall, Those were the amount of students in each grade level that met or exceeded those state projections. And then, of course, it's broken down in 8th grade into 8th grade math and math 1, and then the projections that were exceeded or met in the reading part of it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Probably don't want to get me started on 8th grade math.
I want to mention just 2 quick things. We do know that having more kids in math 1 in 8th grade does impact the high school.
Yes.
So Dr. Clapsaw was very intentional in talking with those families about if you take math 1 and are not proficient, we really want you to retake math 1 in the high school to ensure that they're prepared for math 2 and math 3. They can also retake it if they were a low level 3 and they want to retake it in high school. They still have the option to do that. But having more kids take math 1 in 8th grade does have implications for the high school. And so we are going to be very strategic about how we want to make sure it's a benefit for everybody. And so I think that's an important discussion moving forward. Also, our RESA, our local RESA, is developing an 8th grade math teacher cohort because obviously that 91th percentile affects everyone across the state and everyone's struggling with it. And so just trying to get those teachers together and where there has been success, kind of sharing strategies and trying to make it better for everybody involved. I don't know when there'll be a renorming of that test, but
I don't think Miss White and I were discussing that this morning. I don't think it's at least 2 or 3 years probably before they renorm those.
Just a couple of
We're all in the same basket.
Yeah.
It's just the people making the rules don't understand that basket. There's eggs in the basket.
Right.
Yeah.
But those are amazing scores.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, the teachers and the students, they stepped up. I didn't. It wasn't anything I did special. It was just putting it out there. We have high expectations, and they rose to it. So
That's good.
we good.
Thank you. And Mr. Owen with the high school.
And Ms. Palmer's going to talk about CTE scores here in just a moment. Adrian, you want to? Okay, there we go. Oh, you go first. Then.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this is for this school year, 2024-2025. This is our CTE proficiency by program area. Our ag education was 85%, business, finance, and marketing, 92% proficient, health science, 98%, trade and industry, 73%, and family and consumer science, 95% proficiency. And that is all our proofs of learning, like your credentials, PDMs, and state assessments.
Very solid. For the EOC, the end of course testing that we did, now this is the full year, so this includes the ones we did in December and the ones we did in May. Biology, we don't know, as Dr. Clapsaddle was saying, the science scores, we'll get those in August. Those are always solid. Mr. Moss does a great job with that. And, not concerned there. English 2 and Math 1, you can see those. Those are very similar to last year. Okay, not a big wobble on those. And if you look at that 34.2 for Math 1, you got to consider, as Dr. Clapsaddle was saying, this same cohort of students, the year before in 8th grade was 11.9 proficiency. So this is actually really good.
Yeah.
Not to belabor that at all, but we're actually pleased with the growth there. And then Math 3, we have a new teacher in the classroom there, Mr. Colby White, Coach White, and he did a great job in his first year with Hayesville High School, teaching Math 3 students. So I think, if we look ahead, you never know. Growth is always a bit of a black box. We'll find that out in August, but, my sense of this is that, we'll end up with a school performance grade really similar to last year's, maybe up a little bit, and growth will be in that upper part of meeting, or maybe we'll get into exceeding growth. We'll just see. So looking forward to seeing that. And I just want to thank Mrs. Godfrey and the Board of Education for helping us create an environment, learning environments in the high school where teachers can teach and students can learn. I appreciate you. Any questions for me or Ms. Palmer?
Questions or comments?
Great work.
I just want to make sure Mr. Ash understands that not all of our 9th graders take Math 1 because they do take it in 8th grade. So that's only representative of part of our incoming freshmen, those that didn't take it in 8th grade. So, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. thank all of you. Those good numbers. So it's exciting to see things moving in the right direction. So appreciate you and your teams for what you're doing. So.
What I would say about that too is that if you listen to each one of them, they're proud and excited about the results, but already forward thinking about how can we make it better? What can we do next? Yeah. I appreciate all of them very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Superintendent's report. Ms. Belford has that.
I have several things to share with you, and excited to share with you some of the progress at the intermediate school. And so just to share with you a little bit about what's happened in June, our Board of Education got an opportunity to do a site walk, so they kind of know what's been going on, but just for the public to know too. All the slabs have been poured with the exception of the cafeteria. They are not pouring the cafeteria yet because they need to get a crane into the center part of the building, and that would be much more difficult if they do the cafeteria. So the cafeteria is on hold, but the rest of the slabs are there. They've started putting up steel. If you drive by, you can see the steel. They were waiting on some pieces, but all the pieces are here, and so now it's really taken off. The masons are continuing to lay the concrete block in the kitchen and auditorium. I'm going to show you some pictures of that in just a moment. The plumbers are following alongside, roughing in the plumbing as they put in the concrete block. And the electricians also are installing boxes and conduits as they go. So lots of collaboration happening out there. It's really remarkable to see. The plan for the next month is obviously the masons will continue laying block. They're going to continue with the steel work. The plumbers and electricians will continue roughing in alongside the masons, and the remaining utility work on the west side of the project. So that's what's planned for the rest of June from the time we had our meeting until the end of July. So if you take a look at this is the kitchen area. So you can see lots of work going on there. These pictures were taken by Andy Gibson, did these with his drone and shared them with us, and so I thought I wanted to share these with you. These were taken at the end of May. It's changed since then, but you can see in this area, that blue color, that is the office suites, and leaning down on the right is the auditorium. You can kind of see the slant of the concrete there. To the left of the blue would be heading down to the classroom wing, and over closest to the middle school gym and cafeteria where the walls are the highest, that is the cafeteria. So that's just kind of a close-up of the what will be the auditorium, the Performing Arts Center. And that back part, what you can see there, you can see the stairwell is in there, but that is, those will be the actual classrooms for 6th through 8th grade. So again, it's changed a lot since these pictures were taken, but it does give you a great shot of kind of just how quickly things are progressing, and it's starting to take shape, and you can kind of get a visual for what it's going to look like. So, some other exciting news. Our Discovery program received $20,000 thanks to the Youth Sports Grant Fund from North Carolina Amateur Sports. This program was established by the North Carolina General Assembly. CCRA actually is the one that applied for this grant. Nurse Joanna, as we know her, was very instrumental in applying for this. Brenda Leake and I both wrote letters of support for this grant, and we were very thankful that it was awarded. Our Discovery program has had an ongoing partnership with CCRA and the Southern Appalachian Bicycle Association since 2001, and that's when our biking programs kind of started to take shape, but that equipment has been slowly wearing out, and because they're older bikes, it's hard to get parts to replace those, and so this will allow us to get a new fleet of bicycles, and those will be purchased locally through the Hayesville Bike Shop, so it's kind of a win-win for the community there. So very thankful for that. Also, big news that you may have seen on social media, and I've shared this with the board as well. We were very lucky to have been chosen as one of 5 schools, middle schools across the state, to receive the Golden Leaf Grant. And that was a labor of love between Dr. Clapsaddle and I. We spent lots and lots of hours working on that. I think the application, by the time we finished it, was around 64 pages. So it was a tremendous amount of work, but we're very grateful to have been chosen after we submitted an application, and we were chosen for an interview. And so that was a little intense, but we made it through, and we were chosen for that. So just to tell you a little bit about what that will entail for us, this is basically about personalized competency-based education, and it will focus on Marzano's high reliability schools practices. And so with that, we will have professional development, and so we'll get to go to Marzano conferences. There's travel expenses included, along with being able to travel to model schools. And the grant is approximately $386,000. We will be able to have Marzano coaches come on site and work with our teachers and really talk about how to individualize learning for kids. So we're super excited about that. Summer has also included a lot of professional development. Summer's a very busy time. When people say, what do y'all do over the summer? Like, it is an incredibly busy, chaotic time, but it's also a different kind of work, and we're excited to be able to spend some time engaging in professional development. And so Infinite Campus training is pretty much going on campus-wide. Our teachers are doing training. That's our new Power School, our student information system. Our teachers are doing training. Our principals are doing training. Our district level administrators are doing training. And then those on the Infinite Campus leadership team are doing lots of training. We had several of our administrators along with central office staff that attended the Summer Leadership Conference this week in Asheville, and so that was a good time. We really enjoyed that. Let's see, we had several middle school staff that attended the Academic Innovation Conference in Boone, and so that's part of the Gear Up program. And then we also have several HMS staff who will be participating in the Rural Teachers Leader Program. Mr. Overland just completed the North Carolina Education Policy Fellowship cohort, so congratulations to Mr. Overland. And also Dr. Clapsaddle will be starting that for this year. Those are opportunities also offered through Gear Up. So, lastly, I wanted to share with you 3 of our teachers from HPS got to attend the Elevate Conference in Nashville. Ms. Felicia Mull, Delaney Smith, and Kim Staten. And I understand that it was a very high energy conference and that they had a great time. I think the highlights for them were seeing Gary Brooks, who, if you're on social media, you know that he is a principal who is just very real about education, and it's just very funny and entertaining to listen to. And so he was there, and also kindergarten icon Jack Hartman was there, and so you can see the picture of them there with him. And so just a great opportunity for our teachers, and hopefully they're going to bring that energy and what they learned back to HPS in the fall. So excited about that. Lastly, I just want to give you a little bit of update on CEP, and for those of you that might have forgotten or are new to this, CEP is the Community Eligibility Provision, and so basically that is the program under which we operate our school nutrition that allows us to feed all children free of cost. And so we wanted to give you just a quick update on how many kids we fed and how many meals were served this year. So you can see a comparison for breakfast. The previous school year was 99,992 breakfasts, and this year it was 100,931. So there was a slight increase in breakfast. Breakfast has been free for a while for our kids, so that's not where we would expect to see the most increase, but we definitely saw a huge increase in lunch. The year prior, we served 115,601 meals, and this past year, we served 137,347 meals. So super excited to see that more of our kids are eating school lunches. We know that they are good for them. We're making sure that they're fed, and very thankful for Ms. Bethel's leadership in bringing this to light. I know that it has not been without challenges. It's a financial commitment to be able to do this, and we've had some bumps along the way. We've had far more repairs this year than we anticipated. If you'll remember, we had a fire at the primary school cafeteria. We had a power problem at the cafeteria. We've had several freezer problems, and we know that that's an aging building that we're going to have new equipment for in the next couple of years, but for now we've got to keep it running, and we got to keep those things repaired as they break. So just a lot of things that have happened. I believe that Ms. Bethel told me that she budgeted about $12,000 for repairs, and it was about $44,000 for repairs that we ended up spending this year. And that was after insurance and Blue Ridge Mountain EMC helping us with the power issue. So those were in addition to. So Wanted to go over just quickly the USDA reimbursement and how that looks for us. In 23-24, we received $588,000 in reimbursement from USDA. This year we received $853,752 in reimbursement. So keep in mind that this number also reflects $74,000 that was given to us as an incentive grant. That's for schools that are in their first year of CEP. So we were thankful for that amount. There's also funding that is not coming in from paying students anymore. So there are some differentials there. But overall, we did receive a higher reimbursement, and we're thankful for that. I think it's also important to remember, though, the cost of food has been astronomical. And school nutrition did put out a bid to change providers for our foods, and they didn't receive any bids other than our current vendor for which is US Foods. So we've tried to save money, but there's not a lot of companies willing to provide that service for us. So we're a little bit, our hands are tied with that. So I'm sure that Ms. Bethel will be glad to answer any questions. Since there were just a few slides, I've just incorporated them into mine to move things along. But if you have any questions, I know she will be glad to answer them for you. Or if you have any questions for me about any other parts of the report. I did include Ms. Bethel's slides in your packet.
Any questions or comments about anything with the superintendent's report or the community eligibility? No. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate your work with that as well. Next, we have the action section, and we'll start with the Tri-County Community College and the Career College Promise MOU.
Okay. I have several friends I would like to join me with this discussion. So, Mr. Oberlin, if you'd like to join in as well. This has been a group effort for our MOU with Tri-County Community College for our Career and College Promise. So I have with me Dr. Rourke Airwood, who is the Vice President of Teaching and Learning, yep. And Sammy, I want to call you the wrong name, Sammy Jones. She will always be Sammy Major to me. And of course, Mr. Oberlin. We have met multiple times about our MOU. Our MOU doesn't look drastically different than it has in years prior that you have previously seen, and you have a copy of it in your board folder. The main thing that I want to highlight, and there's different parts of this that we can each speak to, is that there have been some changes with the community college system, some new requirements for them and new guidance for them about what CCP should look like. And primarily that includes the notion of pathways and what that looks like. And so I'm going to let them speak to that a little bit, just so that you have full understanding of how this is going to look for students moving forward. But the biggest change is the other page, which is not part of the MOU, but this is the student responsibilities, and it kind of highlights, we know that no junior or senior is going to go find our MOU and read it, so we wanted to have a page. So the MOU does reference this student responsibilities, but we wanted to have something that we could put in the kids' hands that's not this many pages, but just a one-pager that kind of goes over the expectations of them. And it does address some of the feedback that we've gotten, that our Tri-County colleagues have gotten, just about CCP and ways that we can make it better. And Mr. Oberlin, I'm sure, can speak to those things as well. But some of the things that we were hoping to accomplish is to make sure that there is increased accountability for our kids when they're taking CCP classes. The other part is we want kids to be kids and not constantly be chasing a GPA to try to beat somebody else out of a higher GPA, because we want kids to participate in extracurriculars. We want them to join the chorus if they want to, or join the band if they want to, or play a sport if they want to, and not feel like they have to constantly be so absorbed in these CCP classes. It's just interesting that the things that we wanted to accomplish kind of correspond with things that are happening at the community college level anyway, and so we were able to come together and create this student agreement. But it is a little bit different than how we've previously operated, so I invited our friends to come and share with you a little bit about this as well. But what I'm really excited about is that we have had lots of open dialogue about our agreement, and I think that we've listened and they've listened, and I think we've come through with a really great product that'll benefit our students and our families. So I will hush and let you guys share a little bit, and then we'll just see what we need to fill in the blanks. Okay?
Sure, if you'd like to. Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors. Okay. Good evening. My name is Samantha Jones, and I'm the director of the Advising and Career Center at Tri-County Community College. So under my umbrella is the CCP program. So one of the things that Melissa was speaking to was what are some changes happening at the state level that is being pushed down to us and to our partners. And one of those things are the pathway completion. So the CCP program is state funded. We're very thankful. There are certain things that we have flexibility with and other things not so much. And the things that we do not have flexibility with are the college transfer pathways. So what this looks like, it is basically the entire 2-year degree of college transfer, which parallels your freshman and sophomore years at any institution. So historically, students were able to, what we would call pad the pathway, to take a lot more course loads as long as they were working towards completion. Now, the state paying the bill is taking a little bit closer look at those things, and you'll be shocked to learn they're slowing them down a little bit. And so what I mean by that is our 60 credit hour 2-year degrees are broken down by the state. They say here it is for associate in arts, associate in science, fine arts, engineering, etc. Most of our students and your students are completing the college transfer associate in arts and associate science college transfer degrees. So that's the full 60 hours. But before they can open up to those second half of those 30 hours, the state is mandating that they take those first 30 hours in sequence. So they're not able to duplicate or take more social science electives until that social science elective requirement is met the way the state has built it, exactly as they built it. So for example, they can take 2 social science classes, or 3, excuse me, but they have to have 2 different disciplines. So that means taking 4 histories is out the window. So we do believe that this is going to be a huge benefit to the students. It's not going to be such a race to get as many classes done as possible, but it's going to naturally slow them down. We hope that that gets them more university ready, because I think across the state that's what we're hearing from our university partners as well. And another thing we've really prioritized is trying to get some of the core classes face-to-face. So that's also going to be included here in the student responsibility agreement that we've never really had in writing, but I think is ultimately best for student success. And I think we can all agree that's what we want out of this partnership. So that is my piece. Do you think that I explained that well enough? Or do you guys have any questions about the pathways or completion or anything about course sequencing?
So I think it's important to note that students are still able to take the full 60 hours or 61 hours and get their associate degree in art or science. Either way, the pathway doesn't change that. It just means that they have to complete those first pathway classes, those 30 hours in a sequence, and complete those fully before they're allowed to start taking other things that are outside of the pathway, right?
And I'm really proud to say that another thing that we've done as an institution is we had several different CCP advisors. And we have found that that just isn't working. I need one person to own this program. It does have so much red tape. It does have so many rules. There are so many principals, parents, counselors involved that I needed a point person. So in the last year, we've been able to offer Jenna Shevchuk a CCP coordinator role, and graciously she's accepted. And she is everything and more that I could have asked for this position. She's thinking about how can I put together plans for students when they sit down. We can have those conversations. If you are interested in that 2-year degree in associate in arts, here's the best way to start that, your junior year. And here is that class schedule recommendation. And obviously they can jump on that or not. We can have some variety within that, but we want to make sure that they're ready for that next step.
And I think one thing that's important to note, if you'll notice down there about course availability, we have always had a rule that if the course is offered face-to-face, you must take it face-to-face. So if there's an English class offered face-to-face, you can't take the online option of that. We know that kids sometimes prefer the online option, but we believe that they get more out of face-to-face. But what Mr. Oberlin pointed out in our discussion is that these students are smart, and so if they want to take the online one, they would take it during the summer because it wasn't offered face-to-face during the summer. And so this just kind of limits their ability to do that. There's still plenty of classes they can take and still continue on during the summer, but it does limit their ability to take those core classes online during the summer, which are very short semesters anyway, and we feel like those are the classes that they really need to be fully engaged in for college transfer and to be prepared for that. Would one of you like to speak? Certainly anything that you want to share, but I do think it's important for us to talk about sort of these GPA limits and things that we're...
So another thing, in addition to the GPA limits, so students are only able to take 30 to 31 credit hours from their college classes that they take and apply it to their high school GPA. We found that students were taking tremendous loads, competing for the top of the class spots, and they weren't truly doing it to get the 2-year degree. It was more of an internal competition. So we looked at that pathway, the first 30 or 31 hours, depending on if you're Associate of Arts or Associate of Science. And we said that that is all that you can apply towards your high school GPA. And that gives the students the same amount of time, the same amount of credits. They each have 2 years to complete that. They can do that their junior year, they can do it their senior, a combination of both, but all students have an equal chance of getting that footing. Additionally, we talked about a minimum level of academic performance. The state requires that you need a 2.0 Tri-County GPA to remain enrolled in CCP, but we added additional restrictions to where students can only withdraw from 2 classes per semester, and they can only make grades below a C in 2 semesters, or excuse me, 2 classes with a grade below a C. If that happens, they're put on pause for 1 semester for a little bit of growth, maturity, and then they can revisit CCP the following semester. So ultimately, we think that these changes are going to be great. It's going to cut down on the cutthroat internal fighting over GPA and class rank. And I spoke to one of my friends who is an admissions person in the UNC system, and he said that ultimately the class rank is more important than the overall GPA. So even though there's fewer hours being averaged into the high school GPA, they're still seeing that on their college transcript. They're still looking at the same class rank among their peers. It wouldn't discourage their admissions into prestigious universities, most likely. So
that was a question, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely.
This also doesn't limit their ability to take more CCP classes at their own time, if they want to take them, in the summer, or if they want to take more each semester. It just limits what they're going to get credit for in high school. I think it's also important to note that we made the decision to implement this with our juniors who are just starting out rather than our seniors, because we don't want to change trajectory for them if they've already been doing CCP. And another change, I believe, at the college level is they're no longer allowed to, after this coming year, get a dual degree in an AA and an Associates in Science at the same time. They'll have to choose one or the other. Is that correct? That's correct in saying that. So I would love for Mr. Oberlin to share what you're excited about this and how you feel like this will benefit the students overall.
I am excited about it. I also want to just mention one person, Dee Dee Anderson. Mrs. Anderson is our online digital facilitator, and she really acts almost as a counselor alongside Jenna Sefchet with these students. So she's really, really important piece of this whole thing. Another thing that is going to be different, I can't remember if it's been mentioned, but students will only be able to take one high school block of Tri-County until they finish that pathway. So once they hit the halfway point on this AA or AS degree, then it'll open up and they can take more blocks. They could take 2 blocks, okay? So that's kind of a big change. And then I hope you caught what Dr. Aaron was saying about the transcript. Only the courses in the pathway, that first 30 or 31 credit hours, is actually going to go on their Hayesville High School transcript. They won't all go on there. So that's how it's going to, kind of make the GPAs a little bit more realistic, I think. So, we're going to try this for a year. This is a 1-year partnership agreement with the students that are going to sign this, and we'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to really benefit the kids, honestly. So.
Our hope is that we have kids enrolling in our high school classes at a higher rate because we do feel like those are very beneficial and valuable. In terms of when colleges are looking, to Dr. Erwood's point about GPA versus class rank is really powerful because it compares you to your peers in the school versus different opportunities at different schools. So that's why it carries more weight. This creates some equity between the kids that are enrolled in CCP, so they're not just constantly adding more classes and stressing themselves out to the max. We feel like this will be good for their mental health as well, not to be so competitive with these things.
And I think this will become a model for the other high schools in Tri-County service area, honestly. I think this is really good. And I think other high schools will adopt something like this.
I've shared it with Grand County schools.
Yeah, to review.
Well, we were first.
It's going on record, yeah. We have worked hard, and I really, really appreciate Tri-County coming to the table and just being open to dialogue about this and coming up with something that ultimately is best for students and will work well for both of our institutions. And so we're excited about that. And I'm also excited that some of the things that we were sort of worried and stressed about at the district level and at the high school level is being recognized across the state. And therefore, they're kind of pumping the brakes a little bit as well. So I think these are good changes. And also to that point, like you said, they can submit their community college transcript. So if they choose to take more than those 30 hours when they're applying to college, they can still submit that and show that they're taking that rigorous course of study. It's just not going to reflect on their high school transcript. So. What questions do you have?
Still the same with AIG. If they want to take classes as a freshman, they have to be AIG. Is that right? But otherwise, they start as a junior?
They have to be not only AIG, they also have to be, I think, in the 95th percentile on a nationally normed test. So like the pre-SAT. So typically there's 2 or 3 students per grade level that do that. And we will test them. Anybody who's AIG that wants to start in on this, we'll test them in the fall. And then if they get high enough scores, we will start them in the spring of 9th grade.
Okay.
But regardless of whether they start as a freshman or they start as a junior, there's still that cap on the number of classes they'll be allowed to count.
Right. Yeah.
That's one of those things we liked about leveling the playing field, depending on when you start.
That's great.
Very good. Any questions or comments?
That's really good.
Good. Well, I'm here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you folks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
So I would just ask for approval of our newly formed MOU along with our student responsibilities for CCP, which is mentioned in the MOU.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion that we approve the MOU with Tri-County Community College that also includes the transfer pathway student responsibilities paperwork.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve that.
Have a motion. Kelly seconds that. All in favor? Thank you. Appreciate the work done on that. I know that's been a
good work,
sore
though.
spot for years. So it's
Good work.
Yeah. Very good.
We call this the Shelley portion of the
Shelley,
agenda.
I know, I told her to get ready. She had 95% of the meeting this evening.
I will try to
So we'll just
move
let
along
you stand
quickly.
front and center for a little while.
I think the first thing that we have to go over are the 25-26 insurance renewals for the upcoming year. I'm not going to go over this word for word. I'll just kind of hit on the highlights because y'all had this to kind of look over. We've got the errors and omissions general liability trust coverage. That is through the North Carolina School Boards Trust. The benefits do include errors and omissions coverage, general liability coverage, drone liability coverage if we have any drones that are scheduled, and as far as me and Mr. Jeffries know, there's not any that we have on campus. If y'all do have any, we'll need that information. Supplemental cyber reimbursement, sexual acts abuse liability coverage, medical expense coverage, supplemental cyber reimbursement, superintendent liability, preservation of school board immunity for applicable claims,
full defense cost of covered declaratory actions and contract litigation, and then an expert panel of school and insurance attorneys to handle any litigation that is covered. Our deductible is $5,000. You can see there the limits of liability. The coverage amount, the premium is $2,202 for the upcoming school year, and I did still provide you 5 years worth of what our premiums have been over the past 5 years. The next one's auto liability and physical damage. We do have a $500 deductible for that. I gave you a list of our covered vehicles, and we do have activity buses do have to be covered under this policy, as well as any utility trailers or golf carts or any little ATVs that we use on campus. The cost for that is $7,822 a year. Our property insurance is with the Department of Insurance, Office of the State Fire Marshal. Our deductible is $10,000. You can see there that our covered property, our buildings, is $56,093,451. Our contents, $10,390,004. Our premium for the upcoming school year is $52,364. You can see there where I still have noted why they increased our deductible from $5,000 to $10,000 last year, and why we have had such a huge rate increase over 23-24 to 24-25, and then it was a very minimal increase for the upcoming school year. We do also have boiler and machinery coverage in with our property insurance, and that cost us an additional $2,590. The deductible for that remained at $5,000. Cyber liability, we have the carrier, NetGuard. Our broker is Surrey Insurance Company. It goes over the third liability insuring agreements and the first party liability insuring agreements there for you. That policy is $13,219. You can see we've had this policy in place at least since 21-22. Over the years, this policy has been of greater need, especially since COVID. The risk of cyber attacks has increased, so it's important that we keep that coverage. Workers' comp, our carrier is EMC, and again, our broker for that is Surrey Insurance. This covers our local, our federal, and our special revenue fund 8 and school nutrition funds. All of our state paid teachers are covered through the state. Our premium for this for the upcoming year is $25,892. Student accident insurance, which also includes bounce house coverage now, $7,674 for the upcoming year. That's with QBE Insurance, and our broker is Young Group. And then we have to, we are required to have catastrophic athletic accident, middle and high. That premium for the upcoming year is $1,042. There was no change over the year before for that. Do you all have any questions?
Any questions or comments for Ms.
It's a lot of
Hollingsworth?
insurance.
It's a lot of insurance.
Yes.
If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the 2025-2026 insurance.
Make a motion we approve. Second.
Josh, Mr. Jones has a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I do have numerous signatures to gather before
Okay.
you get out of here.
And then next we have the budget amendments for the end of the fiscal year, right? So
These were uploaded in your board folder as well. I did have to make a minor change earlier today, so I did replace that in the folder as well as in your packets. But we'll just go over these. The first one's going to be the state public school fund. There is an amendment to increase the state public school fund by $30,304.74. This was mainly because of position allotments and our guaranteed allotments. Position allotments, of course, our months of employment, our positions, and at the end of the year, no matter what the salary is, they're gonna either shore it up if it's more or less if it's less. And then the National Board certification support, that was $9,025. And then the rest of those are changes just between the budget codes to get all of our expenses in line with the chart of accounts for the actual expenses for the year. All right, for the local current expense fund, we are decreasing that amount by $351.87. We had decreased for forestry funds last month when we did the last budget amendment, but it came in a little less than what we had originally anticipated, so I went ahead and reduced that, and I went ahead and budgeted for the increased amount in the fines and forfeitures to date, so we would have that there available for use. And then the other changes you see are just budget code adjustments to line the budget up with the actual expense codes. For the federal grants fund, there was no new money to budget. Those are just adjustments we had to make right here at the end, again, for budget code alignments for actual expenses. Capital outlay, we did need to budget an additional $4,016.60. This was the insurance settlement on property, $3,616.60. That was the electricity claim, the damage on some of our equipment when the problem happened with Blue Ridge Mountain EMC. That just reimbursed our capital outlay for expenses we had to pay for up front to have repaired. And then where we disposed of the kiln, and then the rest would be moves to make the adjustment to make sure we had those expenses in the correct line item. The school food service fund, we're budgeting an additional $161,359.16, and you can see there we had an additional amount. We needed a budget for sales tax reimbursement, additional CEP meal incentive grant funds that we needed to go ahead and budget for, interfund state funds and interfund transfers for special revenue funds. These are any funds that we receive and expense in any other fund, as in state funds or in our special revenue fund and Fund 8. We have to budget those as a transfer in to the child nutrition program and show those expenses also going out of the child nutrition program as well. So they can capture all that on the audit the way they need to. And then we have Fund 8, the other specific revenue fund. We are budgeting an additional $441,775.92, and I have everything listed down at the bottom. An additional $255,241.36 for our Medicaid administrative claims for 23-24. The July, August, September, October, November, December, and January, February, March quarters. That's how far behind they are in actually releasing the funds for those quarters every year. So we have to wait on those for a little while. And then also there's an amount for the audit that we have annually, so that's in there as well. Then we will be receiving for the July, August, September of 24 and October, November, December of 24, that will be a receivable of $64,904.80. An additional budget amount of $67,225.13 for daycare revenue. That's to reflect the actual revenue that we have collected so far this year. I am going to hold off and do a report on the daycare because, as you know, we're a month in arrears receiving their revenue, so we will still have 1 month of subsidy that's outstanding as of June 30. So I'd like for us to have that in before we actually do a report for the whole fiscal year for them. Indirect cost, an additional $5,254.60, and those are funds that we are able to collect from federal programs for indirect costs to kind of pay us back for the costs we have for having those programs within the school system. The sales tax refund receivable, we anticipate being able to collect $21,374.74 for that. School reimbursements, those are any payments that we need to make from up here through payroll that the school will need to reimburse us for. That's $17,895.29. And then one-to-one use fees, those were cleared out of the accounts at the school level, and those funds are set up here so we can self-insure the one-to-one. That's $9,880. And then, of course, the rest of those changes you see down through there are just alignments to align the expenses with DPI chart of accounts. That is it for the budget amendments. It's been a tedious process.
Any questions or comments on those budget amendments?
I don't really have a question on that, but about what time of the year was it last year that we received our state budget?
It just depends,
I
and
know
it
it's
depends
all
on
over.
like a lot of things that are going on legislatively at the state level, and it being election year and not being election year, so it just depends. I feel like we got it pretty early last year, but it's not looking like I don't know what the progress is. Did y'all
So
talk
we
about
did
that?
talk
Edie?
about that a little bit. They're in, they've recessed, and are supposed to be back in July. They were optimistic we would have a budget in July. I think that last year we might have gotten it earlier because it was the second year of the biennium. And now they're creating a new budget altogether. We did go over where they are in agreement and where they're not. And there's some pretty significant things, even though what they want to fund toward education is pretty similar. It's like less than $500,000 a piece that they're off, but where that money is going is drastically different within their budget. So hopeful for July.
Yeah, and then even after they release the budget, it takes DPI some time to decipher the budget, give us everything, and then usually it's going to be September, October before we actually pass a budget resolution, even when we do get it early. The biggest thing is it's helpful when we know what raises are going to be before we start issuing payrolls for the year. That's very beneficial.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments regarding the budget? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve those budget amendments as they were presented.
My motion to approve.
Mr. Ashell's motion, Ms. Crawford seconds, all in favor? Thank you. And then next we have the audit contract.
Okay. We ended up taking the audit off the agenda last month. The total amount for the audit for the upcoming year is $23,750. That is up $2,250 from the previous year. And the reason for the increase is every year we have a different audit guide that is released by the state every year that not only includes what the state requires to be audited, but also what the feds require to be audited as well. There are some new audit standards that will be increasing the workload on our auditors in the upcoming, for this year just now closing. So that is the reason for the increase in the audit. And we have been very pleased with them since COVID. A lot of the stuff is done remotely. I will say that's helpful here, when they're not here spread out everywhere, and it reduces the stress greatly.
Very good. Any questions about the audit contract? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve this contract with Thompson Cass.
Make a motion, we'll approve the audit.
Mr. Jones, Mr. Caldwell seconds that. All in favor? Thank you. And then interim budget.
Okay. So the last thing we have on the list is the interim budget resolution. This is so we are able to begin paying our normal bills and salaries and benefits in the upcoming school year before we do get to pass the actual budget resolution. Be it resolved by the Clay County Board of Education that interim appropriations be made available for the purpose of paying salaries and the usual and customary expenses of Clay County schools for the period beginning July 1, 2025 until adoption of the 25-26 budget resolution. Interim appropriations so made and expended shall be charged to the proper appropriations in the budget resolution.
Any questions about that interim budget resolution? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve that interim budget resolution.
I make a motion.
Mr. Cole has a motion, is there a second to that? Mr. Ash seconds that, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then next we have the intermediate school change order. Ms. Guffer's going to discuss that.
I won't go over this too much since we discussed this in our subcommittee meeting recently, but we do have a change order. Change orders do require board approval when it is an add to the project, and so this actual change order includes some credits and then some added items that are at a cost to us, and it's a net cost to us. So you can see those things listed there. Basically, we cut out a grease trap. We don't really cook with grease, and so we kind of reviewed that. There was initial plans had 2 grease traps, and so that saved us a little over $6,000. But then we did add a solids interceptor, and Ms. Bethel can probably speak to this a little bit, but we do have a solids interceptor at the primary school, and that seems to work very well for their staff, and so we did want to put that along with a disposal in the plans that were not there. So when you look at all of those things together, it is a cost to us of $4,368.10. Ms. Bethel, is there anything you want to say about that? Okay. And so I wanted to just give you, we've now gone through 2 change orders, and so what I wanted to make sure that that you all understood is these change orders, even though this one is a plus, overall we are still $349,937 below our initial contract price. So even though this is an add, we're still in good shape compared to where we started with our original contract price. So I will keep it running. There will be another change order that's coming. We're going to put wallboard up in the kitchen that can kind of be hosed off and easier cleaning there in the kitchen. That will be an add as well. But I will keep an ongoing of how it compares to our initial contract price. So we're still well under our initial contract price, so some of these adds, though they have to be board approved, are still well within the scope of the initial contract.
Any questions about that change order? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the second change order.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
Mr. Crawford has a motion, is there a second? Mr. Jones seconds, all in favor? Thank you. Next, we have our board meeting schedule for 2025-2026 school year.
Yes, we have the dates listed there. We normally meet on the 4th Monday of the month. There are a few exceptions that are listed there for next year. They all have a description as well. If we were to meet on the 4th Monday in December, we would be on Christmas break, so we bumped that up to December the 15th. Also in May, if we met on the 4th Monday, it would be Memorial Day, so we bumped that up a week to May 18th. And then we have bumped the June meeting to June 29th, so we can do year-end budget amendments. Just need an approval for that.
Any questions or comments about the board schedule? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve those as presented.
Motion. Go ahead.
Mr. Cole has a motion, Mr. Ash second, all in favor? Thank you. And next we have the high school gym chiller update, or reapproval, I guess I should say.
Shelley, if you want to come up, we can talk about this one together. I had hoped Mr. Labbers would be here because he can speak more technically about this than I can, but we'll do our best. So I think it was back in April, you all approved a purchase for a new high school gym chiller. And so on May the 1st, we submitted the request to DPI for them to allow us to use the R&R money for this purchase, and they came back and said that you need to have an engineer review the design. And so we hired an engineer, and the engineer made some changes. And basically, from what I understand, and I have a list if you all are interested of the changes between the initial price and this one, but basically the biggest difference in price is that the changes now are going to require bonding, and that bonding is what has increased the price most significantly. So when we initially approved this, I believe it was $367,000. The new price is $414,000. However, this is still less than the other bid that we had for the project initially. So it still falls under what the competitor's price was for the initial project without the added expenses. But because it is significantly more, we wanted to bring it back before you for approval again. Shelley, is there anything you want to?
I think the total price difference from the last quote that you all approved was $46,736. But that is still $6,196 less than what Woodard came in as far as their pricing. And of course, you all remember that because of our area and licensing, we only were able to secure 2 quotes for this project. Now, because we did have to use the design team, that is going to add an additional $8,375 because we had to pay the engineer to come in and do the drawings for us. So that does add to what we'll have to actually pull down from the state.
So it's a lot more than we wanted to pay, but it is definitely a need, and we have to play by DPI's rules. And so if they require an engineer, we have to have an engineer. We have now submitted the new drawings and the updated quote to DPI, and they're reviewing it. And then once they give us the okay, then the materials can be ordered and installed. But we are kind of at a standstill waiting on DPI. But in the event that DPI comes through before our July 28th meeting, we wanted to be able to say, order it. We've been working on this for quite some time. We had difficulty getting quotes because there was so much work involved with these companies after the hurricane that they were really not looking for new business. So we've been working hard on this for a long time. Bless you.
Bless you. Any questions or comments about the chiller quote for the gym? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the chiller quote.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Caldwell has a motion. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Trash seconds that. All in favor?
Thank you.
You.
That's great. I should have asked, how long does it generally take that?
Well, I think the lead time on that is
14
14
weeks.
weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
By the time
it'll be
we get it, it's
winter.
gonna be fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll be well into the fall.
I think that there's possibility we could get the air handlers installed this summer, and then the rest of the work would be outside, so that's good. But the actual chiller itself, they said 14 weeks, and it's not been ordered. So.
Very good. Next we have the consent agenda. So there's policies there that are approved that were from previous meeting. And then you also have the board meeting minutes from the May 19th regular session meeting. So if there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Let's go for seconds. All in favor? Thank you. And then just information there, we have our next board member training is July 7th.
That is a date change from what we originally
It
announced.
was originally on the
It was only on 8th.
8th, so moved it to Monday, on the 7th. Yeah, next Monday, yeah.
That is next Monday.
So, and then there's a list of policies there for first read, which you have in your, the actual policies in your board drive. So, if there's no other questions or comments from the board, I'll entertain a motion that we go in closed session.
Motion, we go into closed session.
Is there a second? Mr. Ash seconds. All